Hello, good evening. It's 10 p.m. and this is News at 10 live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda. If you're listening to us on radio, this is 3FM 92.7. Let's start with the day's news highlights. Energy Minister John Peter Amewu has assured the recent power outages experienced across the country have been resolved. Addressing journalists in Accra to explain the challenges, the minister said the outages were as a result of a shortfall in gas supplies and fuel, which have subsequently been addressed. And some aggrieved staff of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, Monday picketed in front of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation to demand immediate halt to the sale of CSIR lands at Pokuase. Minister of Science, Environment, Technology and Innovation, Professor Frimpong Boateng, promised to immediately deploy the Ghana Police to protect those lands. Also tonight, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has maintained its policy rate at 17%. This is the third time the central bank is leaving the rate unchanged. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, among other factors, cited high cost of borrowing to the country. Those are our major news highlights. Let's start with the very first story. Energy Minister John Peter Amewu has assured the recent power outages experienced across the country have been resolved. Addressing journalists in Accra to explain the challenge, the minister said the outages were as a result of a shortfall in gas supplies and fuel, which have subsequently been addressed.
The combinations of the delay of supply of heavy fuel for car power, as enumerated earlier, and the unavailability of gas from Nigeria meant that our generators, combinations of almost about 800 megawatts of available generation, was compromised. This includes almost about 450 megawatts of car power and also 400 megawatts of Asogli. Car power, as we are aware, which I think most of you are aware, relies solely on heavy fuel oil. On Friday, November 23, 2018, the heavy fuel oil problems was resolved, but it took 2 days for the vessel to deliver fuel from Republic of Togo to car power ship located in Tema. Discharge into the power ships, which occurred within the past 2 days, is currently ramping up, and we expect a ramp up to lead to a power supply of about 430 megawatts. And as of yesterday, my information was that car power was delivering power at about 430 megawatts.
Meanwhile, the Institute of Energy Security has described the current outages as predominantly due to liquidity challenges. The IES, in a statement, said the government must take considerable efforts to clear the debts owed the power producers. Mikdad Mohammed is the research analyst of IES, and he spoke earlier on News 360.
You say that the government is managing a bigger situation which may blow up in our faces in time if care is not taken?
Well, yes, and it is a matter of fact only that we have a crisis being managed by people who are not technocrats, who are politicians, and they are doing the communicating.
So all we heard is about politics?
It is simply politics. When you have ECG, which is in the red, just from January to June, they recorded a loss of 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. It is a matter of record. It is a matter of facts. And you won't tell the Ghanaian people about this fact. And it is projected that by the end of 2018, they are going to have about 2 billion Ghana cedi loss. And because of this, they are in the red with the IPPs because they are not, most of them are not, they are not meeting their obligations in terms of payment.
So you say all things being equal, ECG is going to end the year with a debt of over 2 billion cedis?
It is a factual. You can quote me anywhere. With 2.2 billion Ghana cedis loss, because currently from January to June you have 1.1 billion, and it is because you see currently ECG is selling their power at 42 kilowatt cents per kilowatt per hour,
Mm-hmm.
but they are buying from the IPPs at about 59 cents per kilowatt per hour.
That's about 17
exactly
kilowatts.
So if
difference.
If we don't manage this thing well, you know, we have had to deal with legacy debts, with accumulation of debts. We don't have to be paying old debts and then accumulating new ones. You have to make sure that you are managing the system sustainably. And when you say you have a situation at hand and you are addressing it as a technical problem when it is a matter of supply and because you're not meeting your payment obligation, if you say that there's a low pressure in the power plant, what you are just saying is that if yesterday you were pouring about 1,000 cubic feet of gas in there, now you are pouring 600, which is making it impossible or difficult for the machine to pump it up and generate the power needed to share across. And this is not a rocket science. But what we are saying at IES is that sometimes it's important to put the truth to the Ghanaian people so they understand the nature of the problem. So when their lights go off, they know government informed them that this is the nature of the crisis, but we are solving it. Fantastic. And that's what we do, rather than playing, creating a cock and bull story for the public.
The Ghana Chamber of Mines has expressed dissatisfaction with the silence of government over concerns to address the issue of VAT on exploration imports. According to the CEO of the chamber, Suleiman Kone, investors have turned their attention to neighboring West African countries due to fiscal reliefs presented to businesses in those jurisdictions.
We are just disappointed that we had expectations that we would have the thorny issue of VAT on exploration inputs considered. Unfortunately, it was not considered. We've interacted with government and we've been informed that government needed to make sure that there wouldn't be any unintended consequences if it was done. So they would rather have further discussions with us before this is done. So, well, the opportunity is still there. They assure us that they have not moved away from it. It is something which they believe needs to be done. At the highest level in governments, we have been told that government is actually sympathetic to that particular cause, but we'll be pleased if this actually reflected in policy and then legislation. But yes, government says that they needed to be sure that there wouldn't be any unintended consequences, and we'll continue to engage with government just to make sure that we remove all the grey areas before it's actually implemented.
This is still News at 10 live from the News Hub at Adesawe Kanda. You can hear us on 3FM 92.7. TV3 is also live on DSTV channel 279. We'll be right back with more news. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Now, some aggrieved staff of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, Monday picketed in front of the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation to demand immediate halt to the sale of CSIR lands at Pokuase. Minister of Science, Environment, Technology and Innovation, Professor Frimpong Boateng, promised to immediately deploy the Ghana Police Service to protect those lands.
The aggrieved staff complained about the sale of CSIR lands at the Pokuase and other areas across the country. Portions of the Pokuase lands, according to the workers, have been used for buildings and other activities. This, they explained, has affected their research and academic work for PhD students of the institute. They have called on the Minister of Science, Environment, Technology and Innovation to end the sale of lands. The president of the Research Staff Association, Dr. Emmanuel Bequin, asked the minister, Professor Frimpong Boateng, to act fast.
West Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Clement Wilkinson, under the pretext of constructing affordable housing units, has pretended over the destruction of large acreage of land meant for research purposes, including PhD students' trials. He is also complicit in the destruction of planting materials, including rare species of specially cultivated forage. The Gawes Municipal Chief Executive and his assigns have also been using land gas to intimidate workers at the Pokuase Research Station.
The minister, Professor Frimpong Boateng, assured to deploy the Ghana Police Service to resolve the problem.
We will take action. We'll try and get in touch with the police to stop them, so that we'll see what can be done.
He also promised to present a petition to the presidency.
I'm sure you are going to my colleague, the Agri Minister.
Yes.
But let me say that I will get in touch with him. We'll put our heads together together with the Minister for Local Government, and I'm sure that the government will take appropriate action so that you conduct your research in peace for the good of Ghana.
Later, the workers presented another petition to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
And the produce buying company PBC has not been able to pay close to 16,000 bags of cocoa purchased from farmers in the Bogoso district of the Pristia Huni Valley municipality in the western region. 49 marketing clerks from 50 cocoa communities in Bogoso who collected the cocoa beans for PBC have been chased out of their homes by farmers over the issue. Irama Smith has filed the following reports.
The 2018-2019 cocoa season began in October with the Cocoa Board providing 1.3 billion Ghana cedis seed funding for local licensed buying companies, LBCs. The amount was to enable them purchase beans. But farmers at Bogoso in the Pristia Huni Valley municipality of the western region have been left distressed because marketing clerks who buy cocoa are unable to pay back. Agui Noah is the marketing clerk for the produce buying company at Fante Abutariye and has been buying cocoa from farmers for the past 10 years. According to him, 2 weeks ago, he sent over 1,000 bags of cocoa to the Bogoso depot of PBC, but he is yet to receive payment.
I've sent about 1,000 already, about 1,000, and they couldn't pay all. About 62 bags is still there, which they haven't paid for it, and then almost going to 500 bags also lying down here.
He mentions his inability to pay the farmers has left many of them heavily distressed financially. When the news team visited his warehouse, over 500 bags of cocoa had been packed. The story is no different at Jabing, another community populated by cocoa farmers. The marketing clerk says he has also sent over 1,000 bags of cocoa to the PBC depot at Bogoso, but is yet to be paid. On seeing the marketing clerk for the community, the farmers thronged the warehouse anticipating good news. But they are disappointed. Anthony Kwashi says he fears for his child's education.
I received a call from my child in school asking for money. I have not been paid. So what can I do?
At the Bogoso depot of the PBC, over 10 marketing clerks are seen seeking refuge from angry cocoa farmers in their various communities. Some of them have been here for close to a week. Depot keeper Emmanuel Kwame Nabuachi confirms that even though thousands of cocoa beans have been transported to the takeover point at the Takoradi port, PBC has not paid for them.
For now, I believe we've purchased about 16,000 bags. You see, and what we've paid for is very small. I think it is about 5,000 that has been paid. The rest has not been paid.
In September this year, Cocoa Board secured $1.3 billion from a consortium of 21 banks to finance cocoa production and purchases in the 2018-2019 cocoa season. Some of the marketing clerks are aware of the money and question where the money is.
And the Secretariat East District Assembly in the Ashanti region has embarked on an ambitious rural electrification program to connect a number of communities to the national electricity grid. The District Chief Executive, Mary Boateng, says the Assembly is working to meet the developmental needs of the people. Here's a report by Benjamin Adu.
The Secretariat East District Assembly held a town hall meeting at Efiduase to explain government's policies and programs to drive the development of the area. Development projects embarked on by the Assembly include the connection of 13 communities onto the national electricity grid in the past 1 year. Others include provision of water and improved sanitation facilities and infrastructure in the education sector. Some roads, which were difficult to ply, have also received facelift as work is completed on the 5-kilometer Efiduase town roads. District Chief Executive Mary Boateng reiterated government's commitments to develop the area.
Assembly embarked on projects aimed to help alleviate poverty and improve the socio-economic conditions in the district.
Ashanti Regional Director of Information Services Department, Nana Kresi Sapong, said the town hall meeting is important to advancing participatory democracy.
And the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has maintained its policy rate at 17%. This is the third time the central bank is leaving the rate unchanged. Governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, among other factors, cited high cost of borrowing to the country.
The central bank held its key lending rates for commercial banks at 17% for the third time this year. Speaking at a press conference in Accra, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, cited threats to economic growth for the decision.
Ongoing reforms by the Bank of Ghana, including supervisory vigilance and strict enforcement of prudential regulations, are expected to address these residual risks, restore confidence in the financial sector.
Meanwhile, 22 banks out of the 30 have met the minimum capital requirement. According to Dr. Ernest Addison, the deadline of December 31 remains unchanged. The governor mentioned that even though a lot is being done to firmly stabilize the city, long-term sustenance would largely depend on fiscal measures as well.
If you look at the statistics that we have presented to you, we talked about a very resilient economy that produced a very resilient currency, strong performance in the city up to May, and then you had these external spillover effects coming from these frontier markets, destabilizing the city. The question is at the central bank, how do you manage that sort of development, which is really not reflecting the fundamentals in the economy?
According to the 2019 budget, the local currency has depreciated by a little over 7% ending October this year compared to the same period last year.
And the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, has received in excess of 1.5 billion cedis from two of its subsidiaries. The two companies are Trust Hospital Company Limited and Labadi Beach Hotel, after witnessing turnaround in their operations.
The Trust Hospital presented dividends for the first time since it was incorporated in 2010. The Trust Hospital in 2017 made a net profit in excess of 2.3 million cedis, with 25% of it paid as dividend to SNIT, translating in excess of 579,000 cedis.
The company has spent its past few years of existence trying to expand facilities and services in order to position itself strategically in terms of completion in the industry. Most of the revenue generated was invested in recapitalization of the business in terms of medical equipment and quality human resource. Hence, the inability to pay dividends until today.
Labadi Beach Hotel presented a check of 1 million cedis as dividend to SNIT for the 2017 business year, but did not declare dividend in 2016.
We strive to ensure that we make money to pay our dividend. To SNIT, to support the pension fund, which is for all of us, for our pension, so that when we are all old and we are on pension, we have something to depend on.
Director General of SNIT noted the need for SNIT investments to be profitable.
We understand what the issues are right now and you have to work yourself through. But it's a good start, and I commend management and the board for working so steadfastly to make this happen. We always going to ask you to be doing better, and now that the dividend train has taken off again, we hope that 2018 will post even better numbers, and 2019 and going on into perpetuity.
The trust investment portfolio registered a 5.7% real return in 2017 as against negative 5.9% in 2016. SNIT is a statutory public trust charged under the National Pension Act 2008, Act 766, with the administration of Ghana's basic national social security scheme.
And 15 undergraduates and 4 postgraduate students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism have won the 2018 Lebanese Community Scholarship. The award is to support the less endowed students pursue their various courses.
The Lebanese community in Ghana has for many years now been giving back to Ghana in diverse ways, including scholarships to needy but brilliant students. Over 100 students from the University of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the Ghana Institute of Journalism have so far benefited from the scholarship, and none has disappointed. 13 lucky students came up tops in the 2018 scholarship criteria as the Ghana Institute of Journalism, GIJ. They each received checks for varying sums covering their bursaries. The Lebanese ambassador in Ghana, Maher Kir, expressed delight over the impact of the Lebanese Community Scholarship and the achievement of beneficiary students over the years.
I will do all my best to support all the students and to strengthen our historical fraternal relationship between our both countries, Lebanon and Ghana.
Rector of the Institute, Professor Kwame Kwansa Edu, whilst expressing gratitude to the Lebanese community in Ghana, also urged the beneficiaries to work harder in order to justify the confidence reposed in them.
Excel to make the awarder of the scholarship proud, and also to make the institution on whose behalf this scholarship is being awarded also proud.
And Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia has welcomed the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, to Ghana. The two discussed areas of mutual interest, which included strengthening partnership to develop the Caribbean countries.
The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, is on a 5-day state visit to Ghana. Whilst in Ghana, he is expected to hold bilateral talks with the Vice President, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. Areas to focus on include the petrochemical industry and agriculture. Dr. Ralph Gonzalez is expected to lay a wreath at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and also visit the library of Pan-Africanist George Padmore. During his stay, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez will also visit the Elmina Castle and also hold a public lecture themed Rebuilding the African-Brazil-Caribbean Movement for Trade. The public lecture will highlight culture and diplomatic ties between the two countries. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez was elated about his visit to Ghana.
We're here to build further the Caribbean connection with Ghana and with Africa.
Absolutely.
And as I told His Excellency, I've been advised that I'm the only head of government outside of Africa who ever attended an African university. I went to Makerere in Kampala.
St. Vincent and Grenadines is a southern Caribbean nation comprising a main highland, St. Vincent, and a chain of smaller highlands, with a population of 120,000.
That's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for your time. On behalf of the crew here, good night. There's more news at 3news.com.